In an earlier recording, we mentioned that the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva, who were great giants in the Torah, and they all perished in a plague which was called Askara. What does Askara mean? It means chenek, it means suffocating, which is just like this epidemic which is attacking and unfortunately conquering the world. Hundreds of thousands of people who have already died and millions who are ill. And the essence of this illness is that a person is suffocated and dies from suffocation. That's why they're using these respirators to help them breathe, and it's not always successful. So we mentioned that maybe their sin, which was lack of honor for one another, lack of love and respect for one another, maybe that's our problem today as well. But the question is a very big question in my mind. How could it be that such giants in Torah, students of Rabbi Akiva, who were familiar with all the great sages of that generation, how could they get to this level of lack of Ahavat Israel, not loving their fellow Jews, which is a mitzvah in the Torah? And I thought maybe to shed a little bit of light on it, to compare it to situations in our own communities today. So first of all, we have to understand, Klal Israel have been through 2,000 years of exile, living in different countries, under different situations, facing different challenges and problems. And all these situations, we were guided to face them and fight them and somehow overcome them by the great rabbis of each generation who were guiding their communities what to do and how to behave. And as a result, the Jewish nation, who initially for sure had one way, the way of the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu and the way of the oral tradition passed down by the sages, many different customs developed, many different modes of behavior, and each separate community in different countries, in accordance with their challenges and their fight to exist, developed slightly different attitudes within Torah, within Halakha, not transgressing anything, but still differences. Now, when there are differences, people think my way is right, his way is wrong. And if on a high level, leaders of these communities will get into discussion, maybe argument, as what should be the right way to handle a situation or the right custom, etc., etc. I mean, the Shulchan Aruch is there for everybody. In Halakha, we're all bound by the Shulchan Aruch. But in all other types of minhagim, there are customs, and many, many different customs in each community. A very basic division, we could say, is the two very large communities which developed in Europe. On one hand, the Vilna Gaon and his Talmidim, which they called him Litvish, and on the other hand, the Baal Shem Tov and his students, who we call them Hasidim. And then we have the Sfardim, who also have, of course, different communities, different countries where they originate. Although we could say that basically their customs are one. So we have many differences. Now when situations arise, there could be different ways of looking for solutions. And this could lead sometimes that great rabbis will not be on the same page. And one rabbi will think the solution is this way, and the other one say, no, the solution is that way. So really, Hazal said to us in Pirkei Avot, "Aseh lecha rab v'istalek min hasafek." Make sure you have one rabbi who you rely on, then you won't have doubts. You'll follow your rabbi. That's accepted. That it's proper and correct that each community follows their rabbis. But sometimes it could be that the rabbis of different communities may get into some sort of a Mahloket. That means they differ in their opinions in a heavy way. And each one feels that his solution is the right solution. Now, at a high level of these great rabbis, where only the honor of Hashem counts, and the whole reason why they're giving their opinions and standing up for their opinions is their belief is the good for Klal Yisrael. They have no ulterior motives. They have no individual bias. But unfortunately, when these type of situations occur, their followers, who are on a much lesser level, become involved in arguments and in even fights in a very crude and very improper way. Because they are not on the level of the great rabbis who are fighting for the honor of Hashem without any other bias or ulterior motives. And what does this lead to? It could be that we've had recently certain situations where the great rabbis differed in their opinions as to what the solution is. Now those on a lesser level made it a war, but within the confines of halakha. They didn't go beyond, what the halakha would permit in such a case, since they're fighting for the truth. But it's already on a lesser level than their leaders, who are totally l'shem shamayim. Everything is for the sake of Hashem. Here it's already, the ego gets involved. And then on the lower levels, let's say the younger people, or even sometimes children, since they hear that their rabbi doesn't agree with the other rabbi, so that other rabbi is evil, he's bad. If they see a picture of him somewhere, they tear it up into pieces. They speak against him, and this breeds in them something horrific and evil, that it became permissible to speak against righteous people and great people as if they're nothing. Why? Because they don't agree with your rabbi, which is totally wrong. We don't know what was behind the lack of respect, the lack of love by the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. For us, they're like angels in heaven. We cannot in any way try to define what went wrong there. But it could have been something similar to this. Maybe this yeshiva had this shita, like say Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel. The other yeshiva had a different shita, a different opinion. And so the Gdolim want to know what the truth is. What's the right halakha? About the lesser levels, my rabbi is right. It's not important what the truth is. The main thing is that we are right and they are wrong. And then on a lesser level, we are right and we should do everything in our power to destroy them because they are wrong and they're evil, because they don't agree with our rabbi, and pandemonium and destruction can come into the world. And all of us are in a situation when this could happen. I'd like to tell a story to illustrate it. This about 200 and some years ago, there were two Gdolei Israel. It was like when the followers of the false Messiah, Shabbatai Tzvi, had strong connections in the Ashkenazic communities, and there were quite a few, even rabbis, who went along with them and were convinced that their false way was the true way, and that he was the Mashiach. And there were others who opposed it. The Yabets, Rabbi Yaakov Emden, the son of Rabbi Tzvi Ashkenazi, the Chacham Tzvi, who were from the great rabbis of Ashkenaz and great fighters of the movement of Shabbatai Tzvi, the Messianic movement of Shabbatai Tzvi, fought many evil and fake supporters of that philosophy and way. And Yaakov Emden came to the conclusion, according to certain proofs that he had, in his opinion, that Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz, one of the Gdolei Ador, belongs to this cult, this group, and he fought him. He was writing continuously booklets and pamphlets against Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz and speaking against him. And he thought he was doing the biggest mitzvah, and he did it totally l'shem Shamayim. The Vilna Gaon wrote a letter to standing up for Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz, that the accusations are not true. Another great author, Rabbi Epstein, who's the author of Or HaShanim, Yechiel Michael Epstein, I think. He also wrote a letter in support of Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz. The Yavetz, of course, would fight anyone who is siding with Rabbi Yonatan. But whatever the Gdolim do is l'shem Shamayim. They have no ulterior motives. And for sure, all of them will be rewarded for what they did, because they did it to protect Am Yisrael and to protect the Torah. Anyhow, we'll tell you something about the outcome of this contention and Mahloket. At that time, there was a person, not a great rabbi, but he was teaching in a cheder and a Talmud Torah, and he couldn't make ends meet. So he went out on a trip to collect money, and he was living of course, in Poland, in Russia, and he ended up in England. And somehow, some of the Christian priests made a connection with him, and saw that he knows his way around in the Torah. So they made a suggestion to him. They'll give him lots of money. All he has to do is write a book to prove that the Jewish religion is false and the Christian religion is the truth. And he wrote this book for them. It was called Netivot Olam. When I was a young Bahur, I came across this book, and it was like one of our holy books. And I started reading it till I realized something is very strange here. It doesn't seem to be going the way we were taught and how we believe. Till I found out that it's this book written by this evil person. Anyhow, for a while things went well for him. They were paying him money and his book was being distributed. And then, at some stage, the great rabbis of the generation appointed one of the most outstanding rabbis to write a book to refute everything written in this book, Netivot Olam, and he did it. And he showed that the person is a total fool and everything he writes is stupid and none of his claims are correct. And this was very embarrassing for the Christian priests who hired him. So of course the first thing they did is they kicked him out and stopped supporting him. And he is now old, destitute. He doesn't see any future for himself. He went back to his hometown and knocked on the door of his daughter. She was married with a family. And he told her, look, I've done many things wrong in my life, but please, I'm your father. Give me a little room to sleep and eat, and that's all. Who knows how many more years I have in this world. So she went to ask one of the Gedolei Israel, Rabbi Nomin Diskin, the father of Rabbi Shmuel Diskin. And he said, okay, on condition that no one goes there to speak to him, he's dangerous, and feed him, take care of him, that's it. So she did it. And then, one day, was now obviously very ill and dying, he called his daughter in and said to her, I want to tell you what caused the evil that I did in my life. To write a book against the Torah and to justify the Christians, whoever heard of it. Such a crazy thing, and how evil that is. How did I get to that? He told her, my father was one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Yaakov Emden. And he was one of those always writing pamphlets and booklets and posters against Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz and disgracing him in a very horrible way. The day of my brit was a very happy day in the Beit Midrash of the Yavetz, Yaakov Emden. And in honor of the occasion, my father printed a new book now against Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz. I think he said the Yavetz was the Moher of the Sandak. And everyone blessed that this young kid who was just inaugurated into the Jewish people through the Milah, he's become a Jew, he should carry on the battles of his father. So that seemed to be a big blessing at the time. But really, since his father was not at all the Shem Shamayim, and all that he was doing was just taking advantage of the situation that there is a Mahloket between two Gedolei Israel, and he went into the fray because he likes to fight with his own interest and his own ego involved. So this blessing that they blessed this baby, that he should carry on the ways of his father, was the curse of his life, and that brought him to fight all of Am Israel, to write a book justifying Christianity and disproving the Jewish religion. I just want to say, to end with a very fine point, to see how the great rabbis relate to situations. I said before, here we have on one side Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz, the Gadol Hador. We have the Yavetz on the other side, and he's fighting Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz, and there's a world war here. The rabbi of Königsberg, that the Yavetz would refer to him as the fool from Königsberg, he wrote a book called Or HaShanim. And in his book, in the mitzvah of tshuva. It's a book on the 613 commandments. And when he discusses the mitzvah of repentance, tshuva, he makes a comment. Very interesting comment. He said, there are some great people who this mitzvah of repenting doesn't apply to them. Why? Because they never sinned in their lives. They're total tzaddikim. They never sinned in their lives. So they can never really fulfill this mitzvah. And we know that every Jew is obligated to keep all the 613 mitzvot, because each one corresponds to one of 248 limbs or 365 sinews. And here, they will not be complete ever, even in the world to come, because they couldn't do the mitzvah of tshuva. They couldn't repent. It doesn't apply to them. They never sinned. So how does Hashem make this mitzvah of tshuva applicable for them as well? So what does Hashem do? He causes there to be a Mahloket l'shem shamayim. Two Gdolei Israel are arguing with one another. L'shem shamayim. Like Hazal said, Mahloket Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel, they Mahloket l'shem shamayim. This is a Mahloket, difference of opinion, totally for the honor of Hashem. What does Hashem mean in His Torah concerning this mitzvah and that mitzvah, to understand more correctly and more deeper what the meaning is, with no ego involved, everything l'shem shamayim. So Hashem causes there to be a mahloket, a big argument between them. Now they're fighting l'shem shamayim. There's nothing wrong in what they're doing. Nothing. But those who are on lesser levels, the followers of this rabbi and the followers of this rabbi, feel they're justified to go beyond just, making a point that I don't agree with this or I don't agree with that. They make it a point to fight. The other side is evil. We have to destroy them. Whatever we can speak against them, we'll speak against them. We'll curse them. We'll fight with all the tools we have to destroy them. This is how Mahloket, how argument develops and goes from level to level till it burns up communities and, God forbid, the world. So we see, although the Yabetz was very insulting to Rabbi Epstein, he didn't take it as an insult. And he speaks of the Yabetz as a Gaon v'kadosh l'shem shamayim. And he says he can't do the mitzvah of tshuva, he's so perfect. And as much as he's fighting Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz, he's doing it l'shem shamayim. Obviously on the other hand, Rabbi Yonatan Eibeshitz is l'shem shamayim. But those, their followers, is where the problems were, and they did harm to the world and did harm to themselves. As we see how far the blessing that this baby got to follow the ways of his father, it made him a denier of the Torah, to fight against the Torah and the Jewish nation and side with the Christians against the Jewish nation. So we learn from here this very deep lesson, not ever to think that because two giants are arguing, this allows us, if we are in this camp or that camp, to speak bad about them, to disgrace them, to curse them, God forbid. This is what could happen, and this is the most dangerous thing. We have to know to love and respect everybody, and to realize that in Torah there are many opinions, and there's room for many opinions, especially any opinion which comes from the mouth of one of the Gdolim, one of the great rabbis. They know what they're talking about, and they have the right to their opinion. But to make that Mahloket, that discussion, into an issue of fighting and destroying and etc., this is the worst thing that could be. Maybe there was something similar, I don't know, by the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. they didn't respect one another, they didn't love one another. There may have been something of this there because they belonged to different schools of understanding and learning the Torah and the Halakha. I can't say, but they were punished by this illness of askara, which is suffocating. And we see that those who are dying today, Bar Minan, Hashem should save all the Jewish people, that no one should get ill and no one should die, God forbid. That it's the very same punishment of askara, which is dying by suffocation. Hashem should take care of His people and help us all improve and avoid any form of mahloket, any form of arguing and fighting, and even if it's l'shem shamayim, even if we think it's we're going in the way of our rabbi, so it must be good. No, it's good, but how your rabbi does, not like you are doing. That's not good. That's not the way, and this can breed into us, God forbid, lack of emunat hachamim, which is the most dangerous thing that we can imagine. If we lack emunat hachamim, and we think that this rabbi is wrong, that rabbi is wrong, God forbid, we lose our connection with the whole Torah. We see that at Kriyat Yam Suf it said, when Hashem made the miracle of dividing the sea, وَيَأْمِنُ بِهَشَّمْ وَبْمُوشَيْ عَبْدُهُ. The Jewish people believed in God and believed in Moshe, his servant. That sounds strange. How can we put the belief in Moshe, a human being, on the same level as belief in Hashem? Also by Matan Torah on Har Sinai, Hashem said, "V'gam becha ya'aminu le'olam," and in you also they will believe forever. What does this mean? So we could explain that since the Torah Shebichtav was dictated by Hashem word for word, so the truth of the Torah Shebichtav depends on our belief in God Himself. But the Torah Shebe'al Peh, we have to believe in the Hachamim, because the Hachamim are the ones who are going to decide what the halakha is. As we see in the Gemara concerning the argument of Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol and the Hachamim, he wouldn't accept the opinion of the majority. And then there was a miracle and they heard a heavenly voice saying, halakha ki Rabbi Eliezer, he's right, against the rabbis. And the Hachamim said, Lo b'shamayim. Once the Torah is given to us, we decide. So we need to have belief in the Hachamim. How far? Al Yamin shu small, al small shu Yamin. If they say the left is right, you have to believe them. What do you mean? This is left. This is right. No. They say this is right, this is left. You have to believe them. Someone's going to say, look, it's night. What do you mean? It's day. No, it's night. The rabbi says it's night. It's night, you have to believe them. The rabbis know how to understand everything, what happens in the world, and we have to trust and believe in them, right and left, whatever they say. Even if it doesn't make sense to us logically. They are the ones who know. Why? Because their knowledge is not only based on the facts now. They see what's going to be in the future. Ezu hacham haroet nolad. And they know what's going to develop, how this darkness is going to become light, and how the light is going to become darkness. To illustrate this fact, we see that when Yosef HaTzadik brought his two sons, Menashe and Ephraim, to get a bracha from Yaakov Avinu, their grandfather, before he passes away, he placed them, Menashe to the right hand of Yaakov and Ephraim to the left hand, because Yosef understood the Bechor, the elder brother, deserves the right hand, and the younger brother the left hand. He brought them to his father. It says, Sekeret Yadav. Yaakov switched his hands over, put his right hand on the head of Ephraim and his left hand on the head of Menashe. Who is Yaakov? Yaakov Ishtam Yosef Ohali. He's the Gadol Ador. What did Yosef do? He got hold of his father's hand, wanted to pull it off and put it on the other hand and change it around. Yaakov said, no, I also know what's right and what's left and what's wrong and what's good. I also know. I'm looking ahead what's going to be. And I know that the right hand has to be on Ephraim and the left on Menashe. And I bless them according to my deep wisdom, which you don't see and you don't understand. You're not on this level to understand. So we see right, left, left, right. We have to follow the Hakamim. They know what they're doing. It may seem to us not logical. This is the Bechor, this is the younger one. Who cares? That's not what this determines the special bracha. It depends who the younger one is going to be and who the elder one is going to be. So we see from here how much we have to have total belief in our rabbis and never to speak against a rabbi or to disgrace him. And we must follow their ways and know that whatever community this rabbi represents, he may not be my community, okay, no problem. But he's a rabbi, he's going according to the Torah. Of course, I'm not speaking about fake rabbis or about all sorts of people with bad opinions and guide people wrongly. That's another talk we have to speak about at some time. But I'm speaking about rabbis who are good and doing their job as they are within their communities. They may not be my cup of tea, they may not be my way. I have my own rabbi, okay? But the ways should be ways of peace, ways of love for all of our Israel.